Music is the answer. Sweet music is the way. Gospel, jazz, R&B touches you every day. Talk about how it moves you differently day to day. It's the R&B Bistro. Letting music have its way.
Hello and welcome to the R&B Bistro Up Close and Personal. I'm your host, Venus, here to take you through this musical dance we call life. And to do that, you know, I bring in prominent, wonderful people in our community and abroad to help us make it through, and they give us such wonderful information. Today, let me tell you who I have. Oh my goodness, going back to our roots. Today, we're talking about one of the music genres that has been a big part of the bistro fiber, but goes way deeper, okay? We want to present to some and remind to others about in the wonderful community, the presence of the new Brunswick Jazz Project. It's a nonprofit organization that's started by Virginia Deberry and her partners. Hopefully, I'll say this correctly. She'll correct me if not. Jimmy Lenahan and Michael Tublin in 2010 to celebrate the great legacy of jazz. I'm so happy to welcome Virginia to the R&B Bistro. How are you?
I'm great, Venus. Thank you for having me here.
Girl, it's been a while. I've been trying to get you here for a while. Glad you're here.
I'm busy.
I know.
It's busy.
Busy doing all kinds of things in the music.
4 nights a week.
Yes.
That's a lot of work.
I'm going to ask you about that and why I didn't know. So can we get up close and personal?
Absolutely. As
All
up
right,
close and personal as you want to get.
Ooh, girl, don't tell me that now. All right, so now let's start with you first. You were named the Jazz Hero by the Jazz Journalists Association. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And so how did that come about?
They identify people in local communities around the world who are doing good work to help promote jazz. And I think it was 2016, they picked me. They picked 18 people from all around the world.
Nice.
And I was included as one of them for the work that the Jazz Project has been doing since 2010 to promote this music, to support the musicians, and to keep our community attached to this music, which is so important.
Did you get a cute little statue or something?
I did.
Yes, I love
did.
those.
I got
That's
a
so
nice
wonderful.
statue. Yes.
And where do you put it? You know, they always ask that question. Where do you put it?
Well, do I want to tell you I put it with my other statues?
You know, we're going to have another interview, I know, after this, so I can find out about all her other statues if it doesn't come up in this. So when did you develop your love for jazz music?
I started listening to jazz when I was a kid. My parents listened to it, and I listened to all kind of music in my house. And my parents were big jazz fans, and I kind of didn't like it because it was my parents' music, and I was supposed to like the Beatles and all of that. So I pretended like I didn't really care about it.
Right.
Then when I was 15, I made a new friend who had moved. I grew up in Buffalo, New York.
Okay.
And she had moved to Buffalo from Newport, Rhode Island. Her father was a career Navy man. And Barbara was a huge jazz fan.
Wow.
And she was 15, I was 15, and we would sit on the floor of her room and listen to the Herbies, what we call it, Herbie Hancock and Herbie Mann. And I finally had somebody who was my age who liked this
liked
music,
the same music,
which sort of made it acceptable
and okay for
yes,
you
it
to,
was okay
you
for
had
me
a
to
partner
like
in
it.
crime,
Yes,
kind of like
absolutely.
nice. So
Yeah.
you said you weren't into all of it. I think I heard you say that. So what's your favorite style of music and your favorite style of jazz music? Because there's several styles, right? Which is what I have a problem with. We might get into that.
There are.
But what's your favorite? And do you have a favorite artist?
Well, right now, my favorite style of music is absolutely jazz because it encompasses so much, such a wide range of creativity and expression, and it's so improvisational. And I actually like straight ahead bebop, hard bop, old school jazz.
Yes.
I am not a big fan of the R&B of jazz. That's its own genre. It should stay there. Soul is soul, jazz is jazz.
Right.
And I'm not a big fan of the other kind of jazz, the more contemporary.
Okay, so we're on opposite ends of the fence if I have it right, because I keep getting them confused. Now, is there a jazz type called fusion?
Yes.
Now, fusion is what? Is that when?
Fusion is it's more towards the avant-garde. Fusion is, it's not quite acid jazz, and it's not cool, and it's not free. It's
Is it when the instruments all get together and fight?
Well, sort of.
That's the one.
Yes.
I'm sorry, you guys.
Sort of.
Yes,
Yes.
that's what it sounds like to me as a singer.
Yes.
That the instruments are fighting and somebody wants to be in control and there's no one in control.
And the kind of jazz I like, the straight ahead, the bebop, is when they come together. Everybody has the solo, but they come together and they improvise together and they go someplace that they've never been before. The greatest thing about jazz is that when you hear it live, you'll never hear it that way again.
Exactly.
It is
Live.
Never exactly the same way twice, unless you're listening to a CD.
Right.
And that's so wonderfully inventive.
And you just light up. I mean, your face is just so
the music has done so much for my life and for the life of my Jazz Project partners and for the community, the Central Jersey community. We have created a family and a huge following around this music.
So let's talk about these guys. How did you meet?
Those guys.
So your jazz husbands, I think you call them.
They are my jazz husbands. Absolutely, absolutely. We met hanging out in New Brunswick. I have, because in my day job, I work at home. I needed to go out at night. I needed to step away from my life and go out. And so I would always go to downtown to New Brunswick. And since I moved to New Jersey from New York City in 1992, I say everybody that I met, everybody I know, I either met in a bar or a restaurant in New Brunswick, or I met through somebody I met in a bar or a restaurant. And it was listening
to jazz or just period anything?
It was, well, in the beginning, when I first moved to New Brunswick in 1992, there was a place called the River Club. It's where Steakhouse 85 is now.
Okay.
And they used to have live jazz Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 5 nights a week. And I used to go there all of the time. And then they went away. And a couple of places would try it, but nobody was actually consistent.
Right.
And some places would have the same band every Friday, and you knew that the fourth song was going to be My Funny Valentine. And I just thought, you can do this.
And that smooth stuff that you don't want to hear anyway.
Yes, and you can do this in a hotel bar in New York City, where it's always a transient population.
Right.
In a town
not
like
when you see the same people.
The fourth song really,
really?
It's like click, tick, tick.
Can I sing it for you, maybe?
It's like, here it's going to come. And I thought there's so much more to this music. So I knew Michael and Jimmy from hanging out in New Brunswick. And we just thought, what if we try and make jazz happen? Because New Brunswick is full of live music for college kids. There's a lot of cover bands, there's a lot of punk, there's a lot of folk, there's a lot of rock, there's a lot of garage bands, there's a lot of rock and roll, but there wasn't any more jazz.
Right.
And I thought New Brunswick has great restaurants, it's got theaters, it has a vibrant downtown, considers itself the coolest city in New Jersey, except you can't be cool if you don't have jazz.
I hear you. So you guys put that together, and the mission is?
And the mission is to make this music available and accessible to everybody, as we believe it was intended to be. What's happened with jazz over the years is that it's become relegated to people go to a festival once a year, and they think, okay, I like jazz because I went to this jazz festival.
Right.
Or they save up all their money and they go into New York City and they spend $400 or $500 for a couple for a night at the Blue Note or a night at Dizzy's.
Or they go to New Orleans.
Or they go to New Orleans. And there was a time in America where you couldn't go to a city where there was not a jazz joint. Small, intimate, where all the musicians that we know now and revere started in some little joint somewhere.
Yes.
And it's like that doesn't exist anymore. And I don't think you should have to take out a second mortgage on your house to go out to listen to some music. So we knew that the musicians wanted to play. And we felt that we were well known enough in the bars and restaurants around town that the owners and management would allow us to try something. That they would trust us in a way that they didn't necessarily trust musicians that they didn't know.
And then when people started coming and their business started getting, So
Yep.
you bring in international and national and regional and
The
local.
same people you'd see in
and
New York.
students too, right?
Yes, we have a student night, which we started really early on. We went to see one of the Rutgers professors perform at the Zimmerli Art Museum in New Brunswick, and there was a great young pianist who was playing with them, and we looked at each other and said, we need something where the students can play too. And now that young man is a working professional musician.
Wow. So how do you get these folks to come?
To come and perform for us? The word is out in the jazz community that the New Brunswick Jazz Project is a great place with great people who are very supportive of the music and the musicians. And we book a leader, and the leader brings 2 or 3 more musicians.
Nice.
And from that 2 or 3, we'll book another one of them as a leader, and they bring 3 or 4 more musicians. And so over the course of these almost 10 years that we have been doing this, we've worked with 1,500 musicians.
I need to get out more. So
You
now
do.
you mentioned it earlier that it's 4 times a week, and I think I read free performances 4 times a week.
There are no barriers.
How?
No
Can
barriers.
you do that?
Well, we get support from the venues. We have wonderful fans and supporters who donate. We are a not-for-profit organization.
Right.
And we have some grant money, and it allows us to do this. Mike and Jimmy and I are volunteers. We do this for the love of the music, the love of our community. And the musicians are all paid. They're not paid $1 million, but they're all paid. We are always respectful of them and their talent.
Absolutely.
And it's not, well, if you play for us, it'll give you some exposure.
Right.
We don't
Absolutely.
we don't buy into that.
Absolutely.
This is a job. They are professionals. They should be paid to do their
That's
job.
right. That's right. And if they want to discount it, it's up to them.
Right.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yep.
Nice. So I think I read also that you have some educational programs.
We do.
Tell us about that
We
briefly.
work with the Greater Brunswick Charter School, and we've recently had a program going into the Paul Robeson School for the Arts, where we bring in a master musician to work with students, and they do a performance, and they work with the kids. And jazz is about collaboration and improvisation, and kids need to understand about collaborating, about working together.
Right.
To make something happen, and that in doing that, as we were saying earlier, you're not taking away anything from yourself. You're not giving up anything by sharing this stage and this space.
And that life lesson helps them in life everywhere
really
else
does.
that you have
It
to
really
collaborate.
So yes, and we have an event coming up next week at the Paul Robeson School, where we will have our first woman musician will be in the school all day working with the kids, and then she's doing a free concert at the school. Champion Fulton, who just won the Hot House Jazz Award for favorite vocalist and favorite pianist, she will be performing at the Paul Robeson School free in their community room at 6 o'clock on December 4th.
We've got to get the show out there some kind of way to
Yes.
cover that.
Yes.
Wow, I love it. But like I said, I have this funny kind of relationship. When all the instruments start playing together, because I'm from the Billie Holiday, Sarah Vaughan, Ella Fitzgerald, those people.
You would like what we do.
Okay, well,
You
I call myself a jazzy blues singer.
okay?
Because I sing that kind of stuff. But when the instruments start going all together, now my son, Coltrane, and he's not even 40 yet. And I'm like, okay. But he'll listen to the cool music and he'll just be, Mom, it's jazz.
Some of Coltrane is actually beautifully melodic. When you get into later Coltrane, you get into Coltrane from the 60s, it's a little bit off. It's like the same time that Miles went off in search of wherever. But some of their earlier stuff is really very beautiful and
I
very
can handle the
lyrical
cool stuff, I'm telling you.
And I think you would like it.
I went to a concert last week, and before November 1st, so it was way past last week, and it was like, I said, okay, I thought this was going to be a play. What am I doing here? But then when the singer sang, it was wonderful. I can relate to that. So it's all
like,
type
listen
of
to
jazz.
The album. It's John Coltrane and Johnny Hartman.
I like that.
You'll like it.
You sure, Virginia?
You'll love
Because
Coltrane.
I'll call you.
You will love Coltrane. Yes.
I will call
I guarantee you. I guarantee you.
And I said, Virginia, you said And
Yes.
no.
Yes, no, you
Okay.
will, but call me
All
up.
right, all right,
Call
I'll
me
call you
up.
up. So I went all through the blog for the site, and I saw you have something which I really like, and it's something called on the blog. It's a blog called Seven
7 questions.
I love that. So I got lost in there while I was preparing.
Oh,
because
good.
because I love to hear about people's real life. I'm not really a non-fiction type of person. I'm a real life. I like to hear about your life and what you did, and I could just get lost in you, just hearing it. So I'm reading all their questions. So whose idea was that, and how did that come about?
Mine.
Yes,
I'm kind of an idea machine.
Yes.
And usually my partners just go, okay, whatever you
Whatever you
want.
want. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and I haven't done it in a while because the hardest part is getting the musicians to actually respond.
That's gonna be my next
You
question.
know,
So-
sending them the questions and
Yeah,
saying,
that's it.
I need it by, and then a week has passed, and I said, I still need it. I still
we're
need
talking
it. I
to
still need it.
musicians, and they're like,
right, and the
time?
and
What's
the,
that?
The questions aren't really hard or complicated.
No.
They could be one-word answers,
Yeah.
and some of them can get really deep and philosophical in their response to what their
Yeah.
last meal would be. But and some just say, I just want a hamburger. But it was just a way to bring the audience more into the various musicians
and
to
feel
get
closer
them.
to them, feel like they know them.
Yep.
Yeah, I love that. So do you have a favorite of any of those artists you've spoken to with their 7 questions?
Oh, you know what? I haven't looked at that in a while, so I honestly can't tell you that I do.
Nothing sticks out. in the mind.
Nothing is sticking out. No.
Okay.
No. And I didn't do any homework before I came.
Natural, we're kitchen room,
Yeah.
living room conversation. But I'm telling you, I enjoyed reading almost everybody's. Like I said, Venus, you have to put this down. You're supposed to be preparing for your interview. But I was, that's it, really? Oh, is this interesting? I just love that. So where do you see the jazz project go? First of all, where do you see jazz going? Do you see it dissipating? How do you see it in the world today with the music?
I think that
we have?
the jazz is dead quote is absolutely wrong. Jazz is not dead. It is not on life support. It is not everybody's music, nor was it ever intended to be everybody's music. But there's a whole crop of wonderfully talented young musicians who are entering this field, which is evidenced by the jazz programs at all the major universities, and why we do our emerging artists night on Tuesdays.
Oh, you have that.
We work with students who are in the jazz program at Rutgers Mason Gross, Princeton, New Jersey City University, William Patterson, Juilliard, the New School, Manhattan School of Music.
Awesome.
They go to school, they learn all about their instrument, they learn about the history of jazz, they learn about music theory. What they don't teach them is how to put together a band, how to put together a set, how to talk to an audience, how to dress for a gig.
That stage presence.
And all of these things. So we do this every Tuesday night. We do emerging artists.
At which venue?
At George Street Ale House.
Okay. All right.
Downstairs. And from 8 to 9, the student band plays. And then from 9 to 9:30 is a break. And then at 9:30, there's an open jam session from 9:30 to 11.
Nice.
And those are both students and seasoned musicians who come and perform there. And it's a way of giving them something that they don't get
In school.
in school.
Or learn. Yeah. Yeah.
So we have incorporated that from the beginning. So that all these young people who come, they get on the train from New York City to come to New Brunswick
To do that.
to do this
That's awesome.
because they want a place to play.
Yeah.
So I think that jazz has a future that is bright. We just need more people to understand what it is. People have this one thing in their mind because they heard some crazy Coltrane or some Miles Davis thing when
Anyway, I don't like that.
he was like in his bitches brew period and it was I don't like it, I don't like jazz. And it's like, well, you might actually come and listen and you might find that you really do like it. That it's not what you think. Which when I first moved to New Jersey, they were looking for a new phrase for about the state. And I kept saying, New Jersey, it's not what you think.
I like it.
New Jersey, it's not what you think.
like it.
People have this notion of, I moved here from Manhattan, and oh my God, you're moving to New Jersey. Your life is going to be
as
over.
you're driving on the turnpike, they think something else.
Right. Yes, because
yeah.
all you see is, like the refineries and the factories and the plants, and it just looks awful.
Yeah.
Except that, if you just keep coming.
Keep coming in.
You
Get
just
into
keep
the
coming.
fold.
If you just keep coming in,
Yeah.
you'll find that it's actually a wonderful place. So I think that in many ways, jazz, it's not what you think.
Not what you think. I like that. So what about the future of the jazz project? Where do you see that
we
going?
will celebrate 10 years in April.
Is there going to be a big celebration?
And we are planning a big celebration at the new Performing Arts Center. And we have an event coming up there December 20th. We have a big band that's going to be performing at the Performing Arts Center.
Okay.
But we will be celebrating and looking forward to our next 10 years. We don't know what it's going to bring, but when we started this, everybody said, people aren't going to come out for jazz in New Brunswick, so you don't really...
People say people aren't going to come to
don't,
anything.
Don't do this.
Exactly.
Don't do this.
Don't listen,
don't do
right?
this. And we committed that we would do this for a year, no matter how many people came. It was self-funded. We paid the musicians ourselves in the beginning.
Wow.
And we said for 1 year, we will do this. And if at the end of the year, we feel that it's not catching on,
Then you let it go.
we'll let it go. And at the end of that year, we had gone from twice a month to every week.
Wow.
And now 4 nights a week. So we're just hoping the next 10 years that we will find some new, younger volunteers that will help us into the next 10 years because we're not getting any younger. And succession planning is key to the success of any kind
everything.
of organization,
That's right.
especially a nonprofit.
That's right.
So we hope that 10 years from now, they'll be getting ready to celebrate their 20th year.
All right, so I have to ask you this. Hub City Jazz, are you partnered with them? Do you partner with them? You were here first, right? So do you do anything with them?
We don't.
You don't.
We are
Okay.
we are completely separate organizations. We kind of say we stay in our own lanes. They do a lot of smooth and contemporary jazz. They
Okay.
do a lot of R&B and
Mixed in.
soul and even some gospel. We stay
in the jazz lane.
jazz lane.
Okay,
That's
that's good to understand.
yes.
That's good to understand. Okay, all right. So now, give me 3 tips. I thought I wasn't going to do this, but I need 3 tips that someone who's out there and they want to start an organization like the New Brunswick Jazz Project.
Find partners that you trust.
Okay, stop right there. Anytime I talk to people and they say you need a partner, it's not easy to get.
It's not.
Hold your thought. But how do you find partners?
Well, first of all, you need to be friends. They need to be people that you like, you like to spend time with, because as volunteers trying to put together some kind of organizational event, you are going to spend a lot of time together.
Right.
So it needs to be somebody that you are friendly with, that you respect, that you feel that they respect you, and that you trust. And when I mean trust, you trust their judgment, so that there are 3 of us,
Right.
and we call ourselves the 3-legged stool. That without one of the legs, the stool would tip over,
Yes,
and we
yes.
each bring very different strengths to the organization.
Nice.
Michael works for the city of New Brunswick, and he was a Wall Street executive, and so he's got business skills. Jimmy runs his own manufacturing company, international company that produces products for all over the world. So he brings business skills that help to keep us on an even keel and to keep our organization functioning like an organization.
Right.
I am kind of the spokesperson. I'm the social media person.
You're the
I'm
creative person.
I'm the creative person, and I'm also the person that has the broadest, deepest knowledge of jazz. And so I go out to New York all the time. I see musicians, so I bring in that force.
That
But
force.
together we make better decisions than one of us would make alone. And we go to every event. That's part of why this works. We are
You have to
out.
go in your pocketbook. Let's go back to the 3.
Back to the 3.
So the first one is find good partners.
Find good partners.
Second is?
The second is know your mission and believe in it. Don't let anybody dissuade you from what you believe it is you are trying to accomplish.
So create that mission and then know it and believe it.
And know it and believe it. And then be prepared to do the work. Be prepared to do the work without the reward, but to find the work in itself satisfying enough to take you to do the work again. That it's not going to happen overnight, so you really do have to be prepared to do the work. There were nights in the beginning that it would be Mike, Jimmy, me, the band, the bartender.
Wow. And so would you also say that you would put a time limit on it, like you said, if it didn't work in a year?
Right, and give yourself a reasonable time limit. You know, people who start something like this, they think that if it, I had a friend who was starting, she says, I'm going to start doing R&B nights. And it lasted 3 weeks.
Wow.
That's not long enough for the word to get out. Even with social media, it takes a longer time than you think. So you need to give yourself a reasonable projected deadline.
Right.
And for anything that's going to involve a lot of other people, which putting together something where you have to hire musicians and you have to deal with venues, you need to give yourself a year to make it work.
Okay. What's the best way that people can always know what's going on with the New Brunswick Jazz Project?
We are on the web at nbjp.org, which is newbrunswickjazzproject.org. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter. We have an email blast that you can sign up for on our website. It's a little button you click, says join our email list. You get an email every Monday morning letting you know what is happening jazz-wise in New Brunswick that week.
And you do the
I do the
website?
I do. I don't do, no. Jimmy does the website. I do Facebook and the newsletter and Twitter and Instagram. And
So you're the social media queen.
I am.
Virginia, it's been so wonderful talking about the Jazz Project. I'm definitely educated.
And I'm going to be looking for you on a jazz night.
I know, and I'm going to come out. I don't know when. I'm not promising you that, but I'm going to come out because I must get out.
And you won't regret it. You'll meet great people.
I might want to sit in with a musician.
You will meet great people. We have the community that we have built around this music has been extraordinary. We have created friendships. We have had 11 romances. We have had
definitely coming out now.
I think
we gotta run, but
I'm
definitely coming out. This has been the R&B Bistro, up close and personal with Venus. Remember, it's never too late to live your dreams, and when you do, I'll be there to encourage you. Come on back to see next time who we chat with again. Love you for watching. Take care now.